good, y'all? It's the one and only Kingcal516 live in the mix, and this is the Swiss Flames podcast. So ESPN has recently released their power rankings for the upcoming NBA season. Power rankings based upon where the teams stand right now as the rosters are currently constructed. And so I have a gripe about the list, especially with who they put as number one. But before I get into my gripe and complaint, basically, I just want to remind you guys, please check out the website, www.swissflames.com. Hit us up on Twitter, @SwissFlames, or check out our brand new Facebook page, @SwissFlames Podcast. Remember, you can hear the Swiss Flames Podcast all over the podcast globe on Spotify, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, Player FM, and more. Anyhow, we're going to get right into this. So I'm going to go from 10, and then we'll work our way all the way up to number one. And don't forget to hit us up on the comments. Let us know what you think about this list totally. All right, so we'll start at number 10 and work our way up. So at number 10, the LA Clippers. Now, I can understand the Clippers stock is going to be a little bit lower than they should be if they're at full strength, but we all know Kawhi Leonard is going to be out. And I've said this multiple times. Based upon the trade that they did, getting rid of Patrick Beverley and Rondo, my belief is that the Clippers are under the impression Kawhi is going to be out the whole season. And so, if you're going to cut costs, you know what I mean? You're not fully invested in winning a championship at the moment. That's the way I look at it. You know what I mean? If you're going to get rid of a key cog in your rotation like Patrick Beverley. So, my guess, once again, is that Kawhi is probably not going to play this season. And so if Kawhi's not there, it does take away from the Clippers, especially if a lot of these other teams are healthy this year. You know, I'll be honest with y'all. I know there's a lot of people that said that the Clippers would have went to the finals if Kawhi was playing, and that's always possibly true. I'm not going to knock that statement. But if Kawhi Leonard got hurt, especially in that Mavs series, the first series that they were in, the last playoffs, Clippers probably would not have advanced even against the Mavs. Kawhi really helped to offset some of what Luka Doncic was doing offensively. And Kawhi had a monster series in that Dallas matchup. And if he didn't play that Dallas series, the Clippers may not have gotten out of that round. And mark my words, if the Clippers and Dallas play in the first round again this year, oh my goodness, I do not believe they're going to win without Kawhi Leonard. You know what I mean? That's my opinion. So I'm not mad at the Clippers being number 10. Like I said, I would have them much higher, especially if Kawhi was there. I would have them in the top 5. But with that said, I'm not going to argue with this too much. Number 9, Atlanta Hawks. Now, we know that the Hawks had a really good season. They surprised a lot of us. They're basically the surprise of this year. Remember, they struggled so much early on in the season. They did a coaching change, put Nate McMillan as the head coach. And when they took off, once Nate McMillan became the head coach, and they were winning games like crazy. Trae Young, I love Trae Young. I love his game. You know what I mean? Now we're looking back, at that trade when you had Doncic traded for Trae Young, and I believe that trade was an even trade, and I think it worked out for both parties. I just feel like Luka is a better fit for Dallas, and Trae Young is a better fit for the Hawks. So I think that's one of those trades where both teams benefited equally because they both got budding superstar talented players on their team. You know what I mean? And so I think Atlanta's in a great place. They were able to re-sign John Collins this offseason. I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to do that, but they were able to re-sign John Collins. Cam Reddish, to me, I've said this before, and I will stick to it, that I believe that Cam Reddish developing into a star is going to make the difference of this team. And once Cam Reddish can develop to that level, this team is going to be able to go to another level. And I mean, possibly contend for a championship, in my opinion. You know what I mean? But they need Cam Reddish to continue to develop and to be that next guy in the pecking order, as far as this team goes. But, I ain't mad at them. Number 9, out of respect to their playoff run, they're going to have a whole lot of confidence going into this season, knowing what they just did last season and bringing back basically the core of that team for another year. And they got a nice mixture of veterans between Bogdanovich and Capella, mixed with some of the young blood. Gallinari, he had a good playoffs as well. So I like the Atlanta Hawks. I ain't mad at this. You know what I mean? I think that they're going to have a lot of confidence. We'll see what they do. Number 8, Miami Heat. Now, we know the big offseason acquisition was Kyle Lowry. And we know that they, got eliminated at the first round from the Bucks. So they underachieved this past season with the previous season in the bubble going all the way. Now, even with Kyle Lowry, even though I know he's going to make Jimmy Butler's life a whole lot easier, he's going to run that offense a whole lot more efficiently than Jimmy Butler would run that offense. You know what I'm saying? And he's going to take a whole lot off of Jimmy Butler. Sometimes I feel like Jimmy Butler has to do too much for the Heat, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So taking some of those playmaking responsibilities off of Jimmy Butler, I think is going to make him that much more of an effective player. Jimmy can pick his spots. Kyle Lowry, make sure he gets him in real good positions to be successful. And Kyle Lowry is going to work wonders. My issue with the Heat is always going to be this. The Heat need Bam Adebayo to continue to get better, right? Bam Adebayo's offensive game has to become a lot more consistent. He's gotten better, but he still can be definitely a step up, a level up higher than he is right now. He still needs to do that for this team, I believe, in order to advance. Also, Tyler Herro really disappeared the second season. You know what I mean? I think he's getting wrapped up a little bit in the Miami life. So Tyler Herro has a chance to bounce back this year. We'll see if he does. But those two individuals, they need one of those guys to really, Bam is already a great player, so I don't want to take anything from Bam. He's been an all-star player, so this is not me saying Bam is trash, but what I'm saying is they need Bam offensively to go to another level so that it can take the team overall to another level. They need more than Kyle Lowry to be contenders this year, especially with teams like Brooklyn, and especially with the Bucks. You know what I'm saying? Some of these top-tier East teams, I still feel like the Heat are going to be more of a middle-of-the-pack East team this season. So I'm looking at them possibly finishing more or less 4 or 5 in the East. But if they can get Bam or Tyler Herro to go another level this season, you're going to have to watch out for them because they're going to definitely be better with Kyle Lowry. But I worry about them not having enough offense, right? And so if Bam can step it up another notch offensively, he'll open the floor for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Or if Tyler Herro can step it up offensively this season, you know what I mean? I think that's what they need to make the push. Now, if they can have both guys step up another level, they'll really be tough to beat. You know what I'm saying? The depth that they'll have. Because they're going to need some firepower. They're going to be a scrappy team. They're going to be a hard-nosed team. But you're going to need a little firepower, to go against some of these top-tier teams in the East to make some noise. So the Heat at 8, I ain't mad at them. I definitely would have them in my top 10. Number 7, Denver, another team that's going to be hurt by injuries. We know Jamal Murray is going to be out a good part of the season, and we'll see when he comes back. But, Denver will still win a lot of games, but they need Jamal Murray to make a real serious playoff run because his game in the playoffs is much needed. Joker's going to be Joker. We know Nikola Jokic is going to be great. He's a great player. He's the reigning MVP of the league. So we know Joker's going to be Joker. But, if you watch Jamal Murray the season before in his breakout playoff run, he dominated in a way that, elevates his team to contendership. And so it's one of those things where they need both of those guys healthy, not just one or the other. You know what I mean? When you have a team and your top 2 players, if one of your top 2 players goes down, for most teams, that means you're not going to be able to go all the way. It's going to be tough in this NBA, to go all the way if one of your top 2 players goes down. And so he's very, very important. Another player that's important to this team is Michael Porter Jr. So he took a big step this past season, and he needs to take another big step, especially with Jamal Murray not going to be there. We need to see Michael Porter Jr. take another big step. But I like Denver. They're going to be competitive. But as far as being contenders, until Jamal Murray comes back full strength, you know what I mean? They might struggle to be those contenders. So they're going to ride or die with Jamal Murray. Number 6, I don't know how I feel about this right now because I think number 6 is to be determined. But number 6, they gave it to the Philadelphia 76ers. We know the Ben Simmons situation is a real deal. Wherever Simmons goes, I think that's going to be the key with who they get back for Ben Simmons. You know what I'm saying? If they get a backup player, it could potentially be something that catapults them higher. Or whatever they get back could potentially catapult them lower. So we just don't know the final product. I highly doubt Ben Simmons is going to be on the team to start the season. You know what I mean? But if he does stay pat, I ain't mad at this. The Sixers was still a top 10 team with those guys, but I just think, the ceiling of Ben Simmons is pretty much finished with Philadelphia. I think he just needs a new scenery. But like I said, this one to me is still up in the air. Number 5 is Utah Jazz. Utah Jazz basically had the best record in the NBA last season. I think they're going to come back strong. You know what I mean? They basically, made sure to keep the main free agent that was out there in the form of Michael Conley. They re-signed him. You know what I'm saying? They got rid of Derek Favors, brought in Hassan Whiteside. So, you got two really big shot blocking presence at the center with Gobert and Whiteside. I just think this is a team that another year could do them well. Conley wasn't healthy during the playoffs, so that's going to be a big thing. But this is one of those teams where, I just feel like they're missing something, and we'll see if they can pull it off. But they're going to be very successful regular season. I think they're going to win a lot of games, but I just think this team doesn't have enough in the playoffs to get the job done yet. I still think they're a piece away from doing that. You know what I'm saying? But we'll see what happens. But yeah, out of respect to them being number 1 in the Western Conference last year, which is not easy to do. You know what I'm saying? They definitely deserve to be in the top 5, so I'm not mad at this. Number 4 is the Phoenix Suns. Now, as much as I know a lot of people could rag on the Suns about, they only got to the finals because all the teams they played had major injuries. You know what I mean? I get that. But at the same time, they played really well. Devin Booker is getting better every year. He is not Kobe Bryant or the next Kobe Bryant. Let's please stop that. And I respect Booker for even addressing that and saying that he should never be compared to Kobe. You know what I mean? He's the next Devin Booker, and he is Devin Booker, and he's making a name for himself. You know what I mean? And so Devin Booker is a budding superstar. He's coming up. Chris Paul is a great floor general, great leader. You know what I mean? DeAndre Ayton really stepped up his game and got a lot better, and I think that's part of the Chris Paul effect. And he even mentioned it, how Chris Paul has been plus on his career. And so they bring back their core. Campaign is there. They bring back their core, and so you're gonna have basically the same team coming back. They added JaVale McGee, which I think is a good lift for a backup center. Sarge got hurt; he's gonna be out for a while, but I think JaVale McGee gives them another guy to come in, be a rim protector, and give them some size down low. So I think that'll be helpful. I think the Phoenix Suns probably did overachieve last season, and if the full West is healthy, I think that they're going to have a lot more harder time to try to get back to that championship round. But if Devin Booker continues to progress and continues to get good, they'll still be in the fight and they'll still have a chance. You know what I'm saying? And, I give them a puncher's chance to get back there, even though I think if some of these other teams are healthy, we'll beat them. But, like I said, if Devin Booker can continue getting better, they'll have a shot. Because that boy can go off and, score a whole lot of points. You know what I'm saying? And when you have any guy on your team that can really light up the stage, drop 40, could drop 50 or more in a given game, you know what I'm saying? You always have a puncher's chance in that regards. So they gave the Suns number 4. Now, number 3 is the Los Angeles Lakers. We know that they got a big 3 now. So we know that Westbrook is now a part of that equation. If this team stays healthy, I definitely think this team is contending for a title. You know what I mean? And so I don't know during the regular season if they're going to have the best record in the West, because I do think they're an older team, and I do think that you might see some guys get rest. You might see some minor hiccups and injuries during the year. You know what I'm saying? But I think they will finish a top 3 in the West, and I think that'd be good enough for them to cause some havocs in the finals. Now we're down to the last 2, and this is basically where I have the biggest gripe. You got the Milwaukee Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets. So Milwaukee's number 2, Brooklyn's number 1. I would literally just flip these 2 teams. And I understand why everybody's going to be saying Brooklyn is the favorites, Brooklyn's favorites. But I just watched Milwaukee beat Brooklyn. I understand Kyrie got hurt. I understand people say, if Kyrie didn't get hurt, they would not beat them. But we got to remember, Kyrie played during the home games. And we know role players play differently on the road. You know what I mean? And yes, they would have been better off with Kyrie. But then that means KD does less. So KD wouldn't have to do as much. which could have been a plus or negative. We don't know. And this is why I don't like these hypotheticals of saying, oh, if this happened, I mean, I respect opinions, because we can have an opinion that, oh yeah, if this was the case, then it could be true. But at the end of the day, if we didn't see it, we really don't know. And so it's still just a hypothetical. So out of respect for the Bucks winning the championship, I would just put them number one and keep them there. You know, I think Giannis is that dude. I think KD's that dude. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I will say this. I believe the Bucks have a big three. And I think in this past playoffs, they proved that they have a big three. Now, their big three is not as good as the Nets' big three, and their big three is not as good as the Lakers' big three. But their big three does fit well together and plays well together. I do think for the Bucks, PJ Tucker is a huge loss, because it gave them, along with Drew Holiday, two really good wing defenders to throw at. And that came very, very handy in these playoffs. So we'll see if they eventually can replace that. They did re-sign Bobby Portis, and I think he was a big kind of energy guy, which, you know, grit grind guy, which I always say every championship team needs. But the Bucks are going to have a lot more confidence. And guess what, man? Giannis Antetokounmpo is still young. He's just entering his prime. And so there is a level that Giannis could still get better, which is scary. So let's not underestimate the Bucks team. They're legitimate title contenders. And ESPN put a number 2 is not really, disrespecting them. I mean, still showing them respect. But I would just switch these two teams. I understand how good Kyrie, KD, and James Harden are. And if they're healthy, yeah, they're going to be a hell of a team to beat. But every team could be beat. Always remember when I say that. No matter how good the people on the team are, and no matter how much we say a team is unbeatable, we've seen some of the greatest teams get beat. You know what I'm saying? So it's about how you play the game and how you show up. And so I would just flip these two teams, but that's my only gripe. But I'm not fully mad at ESPN for putting in Brooklyn number one, because Brooklyn is a great team and they are a contender. So in all honesty, whether you want to put the Lakers, Brooklyn, or the Bucks number one, I do think those are the 3 top teams going into this season, built for the playoffs and a playoff run. And I do believe one of those teams are going to be next year's champion. With that said, it's your boy Kingcal516. What do you think about this list? You can check out, obviously, ESPN if you want to see the full list of all the teams. I just did a top 10. What do you think about this list? What do you agree on? What do you disagree? Let me know in the comments. It's your boy Kingcal516. This has been the Swiss Flame Podcast. I'm signing out, y'all. Peace.